Right, welcome to the channel, everyone. Today I thought I'd do something different. I've got a friend with me, his name's Tony, which we'll have a quick chat to. Today we're going to be talking about horror games. Now, Tony and I have been friends for
20 years.
20 years now,
Yeah.
Very long time. We're both into horror games and we both have these conversations a lot. So we thought we'd just do a sort of freestyle video, bit like a vlog. It may be the first of many, we do not know yet, but we're going to call it a couch cast. And today, we're going to talk about horror games.
Let's get started.
Let's get started. So I have got my notes here today.
I've got mine on my phone as well.
Notes for both of us on the phone, etc. So we're going to start off with the room of nostalgia. So imagine this video, right? We're going through a haunted house and every room has a different theme. And basically that's what we're going to do today. So the first one, room of nostalgia. So Tony, we're going to talk about...
I don't know any of this, by the way.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
Blind. You're going to ask some questions. I might ask you some questions as well.
Okay, yeah.
Let's see how it goes.
Totally freestyle. Right, okay, so we're going to talk about early horror games that got you into the genre.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm going to go first. I'll ask you a couple of questions.
Yeah.
So I've got some games in mind myself, but what was the first horror game that you played that you really thought, oh, this is it for me. I love this.
So it kind of leads to another question of whether it's horror or not.
Okay.
You know, I think it is. So the first game that to me kind of captured some of the things that I liked from horror movies, science fiction based horror movies in particular, was Doom. A friend of mine got it on PlayStation. Okay. And he'd had it on PC. He got a PlayStation, and he said to me I needed to get it and we could play link up with, I don't know if you remember, PlayStation used to be able to
Yeah.
So we had two TVs and I got Doom, and again, like my brain, and I don't know whether it's like my nostalgia and my memories of the game, it looked as good as any game I'm playing today. Like the zombies or the demons looked as good as any graphics that are going today.
Does it run Doom? You know that?
Yeah.
You know the Nintendo Alamo runs Doom now.
Everything runs Doom, right?
Exactly.
Calculators. Yeah. But yeah, to me, playing Link Up Doom on PlayStation, 2 rooms, 2 TVs, was really 1v1 multiplayer, was probably the scariest gaming experience I'd ever had.
Wow, okay.
And it was like, it reminded me of movies like Alien, which is kind of horror, sci-fi.
Yeah.
Any movie that kind of featured demons, it kind of captured that. But yeah, that to me was like my first kind of introduction to like horror games. I don't think I'd ever played anything before that was similar.
I think mine, I don't know whether it was my introduction to horror games or it was the first one that I distinctly remember, but it was the original Resident Evil on the Sega Saturn. And I remember playing it around a friend's house.
On the Saturn?
The Saturn.
Nice.
Yeah, I was a Saturn guy back in the day. I wasn't on the PS1. I always had the underdog for me.
Yeah.
It was always the worst consoles. Always like the N64, the Dreamcast, the Xbox.
Yeah.
But the Saturn at the time.
The real gamers consoles.
The real gamers consoles. Yeah, that's quite controversial. I'm sure everyone will comment on that one. But so Resident Evil. I remember playing it around a friend's house, and I remember having to walk back, and it was dark. It was getting dark. It was near Christmas time, and I was thinking, oh, that's actually quite scary. That hit home for me at that time.
The dogs through the windows.
The dogs through the windows. Don't open that door. That sort of stuff.
Yeah.
The great acting in it, yeah.
Barry Burton.
Barry Burton.
The best.
Oh my God, yeah.
When's he getting his own game?
I don't know. He should do, shouldn't he?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my first distinct memory of horror games. But yeah, no, that was a good one.
I mean, other kind of horror games that Silent Hill. I mean, Resident Evil's on my list as well. Okay. Silent Hill 2. I mean, I remember playing Silent Hill 1, and the fog in that game, was just blew my mind of like not being able to see 10 feet in front of you what's coming next. But I think Silent Hill 2, the story, like I'm a big story gamer. Like for me, the best games have the best stories. Like
Have you played it on the PS5?
No, I'm holding off. I'm holding off playing it. I am going to play it at some point, but that, and again, I think as well, like the mechanics, similarly to how the fog was a mechanic to try and deal with the capabilities of what the PlayStation could do at the time.
Yeah.
The combat which controversially, I think the combat was trash. Like a really, really difficult game to play.
It's been so long since I've played it, I can't
It
remember.
made the game more scary for me because I felt like I wasn't fully in control. And I don't know whether that was intentional to do with the character. He's a guy that can't wield a pipe. but it
was it in a it was in a similar vein to the original Resident Evils though, wasn't it? Where you on a sort of
tank controls.
It
was, but it was worse.
It was worse, okay.
and it scared me more because of that. Because I felt with Resident Evil, you know, you're a raccoon. What was their group that they were part of in Resident Evil?
Raccoon Police
Department. Yeah.
Oh no,
RPD.
no, they weren't. Was it RPD?
Yeah.
Maybe it was
like they're specialists, so it made
yeah.
sense that they were a good shot with a gun. I don't know what it was about Silent Hill 2, but that game just scared me every time I turned it on.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I wasn't in control. Like the game was taking me. I wasn't controlling the
One
game.
thing that they did amazingly in the Silent Hill games was just the sound.
Yeah.
The sound that they used in that built up the terror. I didn't prefer it personally. I mean, we'll get into the top 10 a bit later on, but I didn't prefer it personally. I don't think I've ever completed a Silent Hill game. I've played them all. I don't think I've ever completed one.
I think, I completed one.
Yeah.
I don't think I finished two, but I think I stopped because of the gameplay, because I felt like I wasn't in control.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't very good.
I mean, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, people, but I believe Silent Hill 2 is the highest rated horror game.
Wow.
I don't agree with that.
Higher than Alan Wake? That's got to be high on your list. We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
How do you even know it's on my list?
I've read the book clearly, I must have.
Right, okay, yeah.
I know you too
And
well.
sorry if I'm coughing, by the way. I'm absolutely full of cold at the moment, so sorry about that, Tony.
That's
You'll
all
probably get that as well.
That's me done.
All right, so let's go on to the next room and what we're going to visit, and that is the Basement of Fear. So here we're going to talk about some of the scariest moments you've had in gaming and whether there's any moments that have actually made you turn off a game.
Where do we start?
And we're not talking about this year.
Can I go first?
Yeah, go for it, yeah.
Resident Evil 7.
7?
PS4, PSVR.
So, yeah.
We'll get to my top 10 because this game
this
plays a high part.
Yeah.
And Resident Evil 7 is probably outside of horror, it's probably my favourite experience of playing a game. I don't think it's my favourite game of all time.
No.
But it's my favourite, if that makes sense, gaming experience.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't fortunate enough to have the Oculus on PC. Mm-hmm. So getting PSVR was me kind of doing something that I'd never really experienced. And I remember there was a moment where I was in the house and there was the dad. I don't know what their names are. The dad.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe it was a flashback from when I was a kid and my dad was really annoyed with me. And he's wandering the halls looking for where I am.
Tony's dad is not a murderer, by the way. Shout out to Nige.
Papa Nige. But there was a point where he was searching for me around the dining room and I noticed there was a little staircase. I went down, the door was locked. And I'm pretty sure I stayed at the bottom of the stairs for a solid 5 minutes looking around the corner to see if he could come down the stairs.
Yeah.
I was sweating, my heart was racing.
Yeah.
And there was a point where I realised how long I'd been sat at the bottom of the stairs and he wasn't going to come down the stairs, but I also wasn't going to go up the stairs. There was no way. So I turned the game off.
Yeah.
I did eventually go back to it and finish it. But I remember that being something that I carried with me for a couple of weeks.
Difficult plays. Do you know what it reminds me of Difficult Watches? I mean, it's kind of on the same thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't really horror, but what was that Netflix thing that came out recently? We both watched it. It was about the serial killer.
Jeffrey Dahmer?
The Dahmer thing. Oh my word, that was a difficult watch. And some games are difficult plays, aren't they?
Yeah.
You love them,
Yeah.
you want to get into them, but they wear you out. Like, they wear you down playing it. So you're trying to say it's like something like that.
Like Silent Hill wore me out. But in that sense, it felt like I wasn't in control. But then with Resident Evil 7, perhaps there was a little bit of that as well, because I don't think I had anything. I don't think I had any weapons, or it was literally it was almost like a stealth game where you're trying to hide and not see him. But in VR, like,
I played it. You made me play it around yours.
Yeah, I think I remember. I think I got.
And I got to the scene where you got sort of.
I had that save
axed.
file set up for whenever someone came round. I was like, play this. Do they do the same thing as me? Go down to the bottom of the stairs and hide like a coward?
It was horrible. It leads me into mine,
which is,
I think the scariest, the most hair-raising thing, and you haven't experienced this game, but we'll play it later.
Oh God.
And maybe I'll film that and add it as a special at the end of the video. Phasmophobia in VR.
Oh, see, it's been on my kind of wish list for PlayStation because I've got PSVR 2.
Yeah.
And I've been like, I need to jump in on that.
Mate,
but
that game.
I'm also kind of reluctant to jump in on that. And I know you've got it, so definitely we can play it. But that's a game where
you have to play co-op.
That's it. Like, I was like, if I didn't have Daddy Hands, right? If you don't have a network of friends, is that a game you can you jump in with other people?
I don't know. I've never tried it. I assume you can just join online games. Last time I played it, it was in beta or beta, whatever you want to call it. So I don't know whether they've changed a lot since then.
Have you played with randoms before?
No, I've played with my brother. Just me and my brother going in.
I'm always conscious what's the community like of people that are playing these games.
I think it's got quite a cult following. The issue is with Phasmophobia is that they're not all VR players. So people experience it differently.
You can play it flat screen?
You can play it flat screen, yeah.
Oh, wow, okay.
So a lot of people do. I can't imagine after playing it in VR, I can't imagine trying it.
If you've never known it any other way.
Of course, yeah. But the premise of it, I mean, it might be on my list. It might not. But in terms of scare factor, it is mental. So what I do when I play Phasmophobia, this room that everyone can see me in at the moment, I put all the chairs out the way so I can walk around the entire room. So I make a massive sort of area for VR.
Wow.
And it makes it so immersive. And I'm walking around, and that game has literally made me shriek as an adult. It's so bad. It's horrible. And I don't want to give too much away for people that haven't played it, and for you, because you haven't played it.
Yeah.
But it's essentially like adult Ghostbusters, I would say. Or
without the jokes.
Without the jokes. No jokes. And it's random by its nature.
Oh, God.
So there are some common themes that happen, but how things get you is random. And that's what keeps you on your toes all the time.
There's something I don't like about, if we were kind of going to talk about like the tropes of horror games.
Yeah.
When you go, you play the game, and they're all guilty of it. Resident Evil, they're all guilty of this. You're going through these winding corridors, and then you go out, and you're in this nice, big, perfectly square, perfectly round room. Guess what? It's a
boss fight.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's it.
Yeah,
and it's like, right, you're kind of preparing for it, and like you instantly know I'm in a game.
Yeah,
and I need to beat the boss, and then I'm going to move on to the next section. So when you said to me that this is like, because I didn't know this was random, I thought maybe you were just kind of playing these.
You're gonna. The thing is, it's random, but you're gonna have jump scares.
Yeah,
it's and they're the biggest jump scares. They're horrible. Oh, it's horrible to play. My girlfriend won't play it at all. So she won't even touch it.
I'll buy it on PSVR 2.
Yeah.
And then is it cross-play?
I don't know.
Maybe. We'll see.
We'll see. If it's cross-play, we'll get my brother in as well, and we'll go in as a team.
I love it.
And we'll all die.
Who stays in the van? I've heard there's a van.
There is a van. Yeah, so you can monitor stuff on the van.
You're not going to let me stay in the van. You're going to send me into the...
Me and my brother, the first time you go in,
you and your
me and my brother in the van.
Oh,
you go in the house on your own.
You don't need two people.
I'll give you a small torch.
Okay. It's a deal. Love it.
Yeah, awesome game. Anyway, right. Before we go to the next one, I have a question for you. If you had a choice, because I know you're a big fan of horror films. The door's creaking.
I hope the mic's picked that up.
I hope the mic has picked that up, but the door's creaking. We do have the window open. I hope I don't have ghosts. And again, we should have filmed this over Halloween, but we had the idea quite recently, so we just thought, sod it. We'll do a Christmas special.
Horror's not just for Halloween.
Horror is for Christmas. Exactly.
What's your question?
What was my question? Yeah, so I know you're really into horror movies as well, as am I. And that's maybe... Let's tell people a little bit about our sort of back history, like where we met without giving away where we live.
So I worked in game
Yeah.
And you worked in Computer Kiosk, which was a smaller independent that rivaled Game in our hometown.
Yeah.
We became friends through a mutual friend. So we knew each other years before, just I think because we worked in the same town. Like your one was below our store, right?
We worked in the same shopping centre, and you came in with your M&M haircut back in the day.
Yeah, bleach blonde hair.
Powerful, yeah. And we knew each other just through that for about 5 years, but then we had a mutual friend that introduced us. And what we used to do, and what we still do, but just less frequently because we've got young families now, is have horror movie nights.
Yeah.
And we are big into that. We are big into our horror films.
For like a solid decade.
Yeah.
It was like, there was a long stretch where it was like every week.
Every week we did a horror film. And when you're watching a horror film every week, there are some absolute stinkers that you watch, I have to admit.
Oh, mate, I would find some. So we can go into it in another episode, but I used to live in a shed.
I used to live in a He didn't live in a shed.
In my parents' garden.
Shed,
it was a big shed, but the shed was kind of known as the House of Horrors for
that door is just adding.
And I would get as many VHS tapes. Do we talk about knickknacks? There was a store in our town called Knickknacks that used to sell VHS tapes. 3 for a £5, I think he was charged. And I would go.
That's showing our age, isn't it?
Yeah, I would go in and I would buy a batch and I would kind of force feed these tapes to my group of friends, which Dave was involved in.
Yeah.
And we would watch these movies no matter how bad they were. But then there was some gems.
There were some gems.
Throughout that, we would watch
classics
like The Thing. We would watch The Evil Deads. We would watch, all the really great horror movies. But we'd also watch The Uninvited, which people probably don't remember.
No.
We would watch some real stinkers.
Yeah, that was.
But that became part of it, and I think where that kind of led on to was gaming was really starting to become super cinematic around kind of the PlayStation era.
Yeah.
3D, FMV games. You asked me to put together my top 10 lists, and as I'm talking now, I realised I didn't put Night Trap on the list.
Oh, okay.
And I probably would have put it on the list if
I mean, that is a dirty game, though.
Oh, it's the worst.
It's the worst.
As a game,
awful.
it was disgusting.
But as an experience, it's kind of cheesy and funny.
But at the time, when you've been watching all of these kind of B horror movies, genre movies, the way that game captured something. There's another game on my list, to my top 10, that I'll reference Night Trap when I bring it up, because I think both of those did a similar thing at the time, which was they took a particular genre of horror movie and turned it into a game.
Yeah.
And to me, that was what these horror movies were just about: getting a group of friends together.
Yeah, of
we'd
course,
have a drink, we'd watch a movie or several movies, and laugh at how bad they were. Yeah.
So, this is the longest segment ever for my question, but that obviously gives you an indication how much we love the horror films.
Yeah.
If you had a choice of getting rid of one, this is like a desert island disc scenario, yeah?
Oh, God.
If you had a choice to get rid of horror video games or horror films, what would it be?
That's really hard.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Really
I know it's hard. Yeah.
And I think
these questions aren't supposed to be easy, Tony.
I wonder if horror games exist in the same form that they do, or the best horror games exist in the same form they do without horror films.
Correct, but that's not the question.
No, I know. I'm trying to.
You're trying to.
I think. So one of my kind of, when you said this was going to be a horror episode, one of the things I realised was my list was super console driven because I'm not a PC gamer.
Yeah.
And
As is mine, I think.
You've always kind of had both, though, right? You've always covered off both.
Yeah, I think only in recent years I've got into PC gaming a little bit more. I think it's just because of this current generation, excluding the Switch, which I think is a fantastic machine, but the PS5 and the Xbox Series consoles are dry, utter trash.
It's dry. It's super dry. It's tough out there.
It's tough,
if you're a gamer, it's tough out there. When you've got all the systems and you haven't got anything to play on them, it's tough.
And people saying like, this year's amazing for gaming. I look at the games, I'm like, no, it's not. There's a handful of okay games.
It's rough. I think when you're kind of looking at... I haven't answered your question yet, have I?
You haven't answered my question, yeah. We're digressing slightly.
No, I'm gonna answer it. I think I would get rid of horror films. If we're saying that from now, they're gone, there's no more.
From now, yeah.
Because to me, games have caught up in so many ways.
Yeah.
In particular, and that's why I reference PC gaming. I don't have a PC, and you've constantly said to me, Tony, you need to get a PC. The big reason I would want to get one is for the horror games.
Yeah,
because I'm
amazing.
constantly seeing these brilliant YouTubers posting their videos of these horror games on PC, and my first thing is...
made me think of a bloody game that I missed on my list, but go on.
I go straight to Google,
and
I'm like, when does it come out on Xbox? When does it come out on PlayStation? And that, unfortunately, is my curse at the minute, is I have to resort to watching playthroughs. So the Fear of Fathom, was it Fear of Fathom? One episode has just come out.
Yeah.
And I've been watching. I tried to resist watching full playthroughs because I want to experience them. But man, it is dry on console for horror games, for games in general, but for horror games in particular. So, but these games, even that Fear of Fathom, which clearly is like a retro throwback to like PlayStation, Sega Saturn era. Yeah. Like they're getting really, really great for making horror games, and they're regular, and they're little. Some of them are little small experiences. So
the indie scene on PC is massive.
That's it,
and that's where you're getting the real innovation at the moment, because the industry is just driven by hitting quotas, making woke games. I know we talked about this earlier. We won't get into that today. That's probably a separate episode. But and I just think that's stifling innovation. But PC, it's just like. Yeah. They're just making anything that they see fit, and
short
it's
experiences
great.
As well. Sometimes, sometimes a 2-hour curated experience is better than a 40-hour RPG.
100%. And we were asking about. Obviously, there's been one game that we both like. I know this is going off tangent slightly, but Indiana Jones. Amazing. That's the best game in a long, long time, and that's pretty good. But I don't care if that game's. I know how long that game is. I don't want to ruin it for you, but it's not like hundreds of hours.
No.
And that it's always this push to make games bigger, better, but they end up just being repetitive.
Yeah.
I'd rather have a curated experience. I really like the Call of Duty mainline stories.
Yeah.
5 to 8 hours max.
Yep.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Good
as long as it's good.
Constant.
Good 5 hours is better than mediocre 120 hours.
Yeah.
Especially being a parent with a young child. You have to sort of choose your time accordingly. But
horror movies are gone.
Horror movies are gone. God. Out the door. Right, okay, so let's go into the next one, which is the Library of Gems. So we've done the Room of Nostalgia, Basement of Fear, now we're in the Library of Gems. Library of Gems are some of the lesser known horror games that you feel need a bit more attention.
Okay.
So, do you want me to start?
Yeah, you go.
Start. So Cold Fear for me. Do you remember that?
Is that a Saturn game? Like a Resident Evil type?
It was a Resident Evil type game.
It was a Saturn game.
I can't even remember what bloody console it came out on in the end.
It was...
it's later than that. I'm pretty sure.
I feel like I can picture the big box Saturn...
Cold Fear. Yeah, Cold Fear.
Was it
if I remember rightly, it was on a boat.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, you were on a boat. You went to research it, and stuff went wrong on it. And it's just one that not many people talk about, but it was really decent.
Yeah.
I remember it hasn't made my list. But it's one that I feel needs a bit more love. And I don't hear people, I look at these sort of horror top 10s and whatnot, and I don't see that very often on there.
There was a game called, I want to say it was called Overblood.
Overblood,
on PlayStation.
Yeah.
Again, this is a flashback to Knick Knacks, the second-hand store. So I bought he used to do this trade-in thing for PlayStation where you would take one game and a $5. That was his deal. He would take any game and a $5.
What an idiot. No wonder he went bust.
So we were going in there with all the bottom of the barrel shovelware from the PlayStation and a $5.
To get something else?
To get something else.
Okay, fair enough.
I want to say it's called Overblood. I hope I'm not getting the name wrong. But this was a situation where Alvin at Knickknacks, that was his name.
Yeah.
He got me good because this game was French.
Oh,
So
right,
it was
okay.
in French with no English subtitles.
Lovely.
So I was learning GCSE French, me and Mark, buddy Mark, and we were like, no problem. Like we can finish this game. We're learning French. So we proceeded to play like the first half an hour of this game in French.
Yeah.
So it was a horror Resident Evil clone, I guess you could call it.
Oh, sacre bleu, monster!
Bonjour, Monsieur Zombie. And yeah, we got nowhere because we weren't very good at French and didn't get very high GCSE French.
Yeah, what did you get in your GCSE French?
D. Yeah, D. So Overblood would be a game that I don't know. Maybe it is perfectly rated because no one remembers it, and I don't know if it was any good. But
Okay, I'll give you one more, and then we'll go.
I've got one more as well after this one.
Okay, I've got a few written down. I'll give some honourable mentions, but the one that I feel most Soma.
PS4, I played that.
Yeah.
That was really good.
It was a good game. It was a good game. I liked how they did it. Another bottom of the ocean, was it that one or something? Capsized ship
you
or
were
something.
In some sort of a facility.
Yeah, or a facility at the bottom of the ocean, if I remember rightly. But and they had a lot of robots in it, which talked like normal human beings. Had really good atmosphere. Puzzles were a bit janky, if I remember. That's what let it down a little bit.
I don't think I finished it.
Yeah, no, I didn't finish it either, but it was a good one. Slender Man.
Never played it.
Never played it. PC. Yeah, I don't know if it's on anything else, but I definitely played it on PC. And my other one is The Thing on the Xbox OG.
Just come out remake.
No.
Just literally like last week.
Are you joking?
Yeah,
me?
remaster. Yeah. Serious.
Oh, so it is getting some more love.
Yeah.
What's it come out on?
PlayStation 5. Probably Xbox as well.
Holy.
Get on it, mate.
I'm going to get on it. I love that game. Great game.
I remember talking. Who was the guy that you used to work with at Computer Exchange? The main guy, Chris.
Computer kiosk.
Chris. He was the guy that put me onto that game.
Yeah,
and I went in
me
there
as
and he
well.
was like, you need to play this. This is brilliant. I mean, greatest horror movie maybe of all time, arguable. Like The Thing.
Definitely arguable.
Like, you know,
it's a good horror movie, but I would argue that, yeah.
So for me, one more would be, think back 360, Condemned. Do you remember Condemned?
I do remember
There was
Condemned.
a sequel to it as well, which I remember being good.
Yeah.
But I think that was a Sega game. And
it was a Sega game. It was on the 360. There was a sequel, Condemned 2.
yeah,
Super game. Psychological thriller. It was about a murderer or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you what the story was about.
I'm going to say it was a launch game or close to launch.
Yeah, I think it was.
It was early.
And I remember there was like a pipe. I mean, every great game should have a pipe.
You've got to have a pipe in a horror game. Yeah.
But the actual hand-to-hand first person, I don't think I'd ever really experienced anything like it. Like the feeling of hitting the enemy, bludgeoning someone with a pipe.
Dharma in
we
the
like
making.
Pipes.
We love pipes. Yeah.
But that was class. So I remember when I was making when you said top 10, that came up. It didn't quite make my list, but it was something I remember being like, man, that game was. I felt really great about. I don't know if you have games like this, but like I felt great about buying the 360 for that. Like I got that, and that was one of a couple of games I got with launch.
The 360 is an awesome console.
So many.
There were so many good games. They had really great RPGs, Jap RPGs. They had. I mean, Xbox has just progressively gone downhill since then.
And
but
like the last few years, like it felt like towards the end of every year, it was just bangers every week.
Yeah, I remember us having the conversation like, there's literally too many games to buy.
Yeah, I bought three full price games this week. Oh, next week there's two that I'm going to be getting. Like it was just, I had these stacks of unopened games that were like, I knew I had to get them. They were all getting 8s, 9s, 10s. It was like the classic.
Yeah, it was an absolutely awesome console. Yeah. I doubt Microsoft will watch this episode, but if they do,
guys.
Tut, you dickheads. Right.
Bleep that out.
I'll bleep that out. Right, okay, so let's go to the next one. The Attic of Excellence. So here we're going to talk about our top 10 games in no particular order. Should we go 10, 10, 9, 9, 8, 8, or should we do them all? Or
because they're in no particular order.
yeah. Of course.
Let's do one each. But,
right.
Let's.
Okay. So I will have a look at.
We'll start. Should we? Yeah.
I'll start.
Okay. Go.
I'll start, and I'll start with this one because you just mentioned it. Condemned.
It's on the list.
It's on my list.
That's great.
Yeah, yeah. It's on my list. Condemned.
I feel bad I didn't put it on mine now.
No,
it got pushed out. It got pushed out by a recent one. Yeah.
Is that the one that got pushed out?
Yeah.
Do you know, we were talking a second ago, and Tony's like, I thought of this. Oh, what one do I push out? I'm going to push this one out.
And you asked me. You said, "Don't tell me what."
No,
it
I don't
is.
want to know.
Yeah.
I don't want to know. That's one thing we didn't tell each other what these top 10 are. But yeah, Condemned. Loved it. It's different, but it was one that I think. Is it a horror game?
Oh yeah, it's horror.
It is a horror game.
Sega, bring it back. Come on. We've got enough Sonic games.
Have you seen on the Game Awards and stuff like that, and Sega recently pulling down their things? I think they're bringing a lot of their IPs back, and for some reason they're remaking or doing a massive update to Virtua Fighter 5 on the PS4. Was that out on?
Maybe
weird,
they didn't.
but...
I don't know whether maybe they just published it. I don't know if they made it. You know,
Yeah,
sometimes.
it's their AM2 division or AM3, whatever it was.
Oh, that's a classic.
arcade
That's a
division.
classic. Yeah, and it's a game that does not get. I never hear people talking about it. I've watched loads of like top 50.
Oh, you're talking about Condemned or Virtua Fighter?
Condemned.
Sorry, Condemned. I don't know who made
Virtua
that.
Fighter gets plenty of love.
Yeah. Condemned. Awesome game. Great atmosphere. Very dark. That'd be perfect now with HDR on consoles. The lighting and stuff like that's improved. Even a remake.
I bet it looks great if it works on the new Xbox, which I bet it does.
I bet it does. Yeah, I bet it looks great on that.
Yeah, get a copy and see because
Let's do that. You can feed back to me later. Yeah. Okay. Go on then. Give me one of yours. I'll tick this off.
Okay.
Tick this off my list. You can see I'm old school. I've got like a pad and a pen, and he's got a phone. Yeah. All right. Go on.
Pinball M.
What?
Pinball M, which is a pinball game. I've got it on PS5.
Yeah.
But it's Pinball M-rated pinball tables.
Yeah.
And there's one table. I'm putting it. I mean, Pinball M. If it has to be a game, I'm going to put Pinball M on my list. But one particular table, which is the Camp Bloodbrook table, which is a fairly new one, I think.
Yeah.
I have been addicted to this table.
Okay.
So, Camp Bloodbrook. All the others on Pinball M are. You've got The Thing. You've got Chucky, you've got Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and there's a few others. They're all kind of licensed horror pinball tables.
Okay.
They're all amazing. If you've ever played, is it Pinball
Zen
Pinball?
Zen
That's the
Pinball,
one. I think it's from the same company that does that.
Okay.
But these are the horror games.
All
and this particular one, Camp Bloodbrook, is an IP they've created. They've created this killer that lives in a well on a camp. It's the usual kind of.
Okay.
But
how does that come across in the tape?
There are. I mean, I love pinball games generally. I like real pinball as well. Yeah. But they've created a weaving story throughout the table where all of the, you're the final girl trying to survive. Yeah. There's parts where you're trying to get the police involved, where you're trying to get an escape.
Okay.
And like the different parts of the board tell a different story. Yeah. And it's really fun. Like, and honestly, I can't recommend it enough. It's like a really, really great.
Well, that's also. I mean, obviously, at the end of this, when I start the editing, I'll have to look into the footage and stuff like this to put some up for everyone else.
I think you'll be.
A good one.
I think you'll be impressed.
It looks. I really want to get into pinball games as well. I know a friend of ours has recently bought Steve bought a proper a massive digital screen one. Yeah. Like a really high end one. I'd love one. I just don't have space in here at the moment, but. Planning to move soon and build something quite incredible for a game room.
Okay, watch this space.
Watch this space, yeah. It's probably going to be about 3 years, to be honest, but yeah. But I will get an arcade machine soon. That is going to go, a big one is going to go there. Medium one, let's say. Right, okay, next one for me. I'm going to go with Dead Space.
Class.
Dead Space, again, 360, but that game really made the hairs on my neck stand up. Like going around, the sound that they used in that game, I just remember walking around and just being on edge, and my hands feeling clammy playing it. That was a really good game.
The mechanic of turning the splitter.
Turning the splitter and being able to cut off limbs.
You get anything new these days. Or not these days, that game came out a while back. But I remember at the time thinking, like, we've seen the Resident Evil type or the third person.
Did you play the remake?
No. So again, it's another one.
Really good, mate. It's really good. Yeah, I mean, it didn't quite hit the same as when it first came out because obviously at the time there were games like it, but there weren't, I suppose.
Yeah.
What's that horror film? Is it Event Horizon?
Yeah, I know you're the space.
The space
the shit
horror
that's been taken
shit.
over. Yeah.
That is such a cool sort of idea, and I think one of my favourite horror developers, which we'll get into a couple of these games, maybe we will definitely. Supermassive Games. They make some absolute bangers in the horror genre, in my opinion. I think their next one in the Dark Pictures Anthology Season 2 was supposed to be in space, but that's taken a long time to develop, so I don't know what's happening with that. And it's a bit like, from the video, it looks like it's something like The Thing, where something takes over people. Okay. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that anyway. But nice. Yeah, okay, right, next one from you.
Walking Dead.
Okay.
Now, this isn't the only Walking Dead game on my list. There's two.
I can already tell which one of them is, at least.
The Walking Dead, the Telltale series.
Yes.
And it's the Lee and Clementine chapters, I guess.
Oh, okay, so the second...
First and second season.
Yeah, like a spin-off thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, might be a spin-off.
Oh, no, that's the first season.
Did they not go to the second season on that as well?
Oh, maybe,
there was a couple. I love those games. So I was deep in with the Walking Dead comics, really loved the TV series.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel like a cash-in. It didn't feel like they were bringing out their own take on what was going on. It was their own amazing story that showed an amazing relationship, which again, story is number one.
I was going to talk about the relationship. Their relationship building, their character building was amazing.
Just seeing those characters develop throughout the episodes. Episodic gaming wasn't something I was familiar with, I don't think, before that.
No,
and I want to say those came out like over a period of time, and like I enjoy, I love binge watching TV shows, like the Dharma thing, like we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
I watched that over a few days. But there's something about watching a show where you only get an episode and then you have to wait. It's harder with gaming.
It builds it.
It builds it, and it means that you maybe where you really wanted to be carrying on playing that game, instead you're just kind of thinking about the game throughout your day. And you're thinking about, in that game, the decisions you made. Did I make the right decision or didn't I? I'm also, I'm a strong believer, for me, of not replaying those games. Like, my story is my story. So the way I play that, I know some people love to play through and see every outcome, every conceivable. Not for me. For me, I play it, I make my decisions, and I have to live with those decisions.
Mate, I'm exactly the same. Mass Effect.
Yeah.
Right. What was the short guy called with the was it Rex or something like that? I can't remember.
Mass Effect 1?
Mass Effect 1.
Yeah.
It was like he died for me. He didn't die for any of my mates, and he was like the best character, but that was my decision.
Yeah.
And I stand by it.
Yeah, right.
And there was a couple of the games like Heavy Rain.
Yeah.
Do you remember that series?
One playthrough, one and done.
One and done, mate. That is my story, and I'm exactly the same as you. I stick by it. I don't replay it. I don't care about the other endings because that is my story.
Yeah.
That's a good. Yeah, I'm glad you're with me on that. That's a cool way of doing it.
That's mine.
Okay. I'll do a bit of a tenuous link. I'm going to do two this time because I'm going to sort of link them both in together. So out of the Supermassive games, the Dark Pictures Anthology. Now, I know you haven't played all of these. You might have seen...
Played most of them.
You played most of them. The two that hit home for me, which were awesome, was Man of Medan.
Yeah.
Or...
Was that the first one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then House of Ashes, which I think is the third one.
Played that one as well, yeah.
And that's the vampire one, I believe, with the soldiers.
Okay, spoilers maybe.
Spoilers, yeah. Well, sorry, everyone. Yeah, they were absolutely awesome games. And what they do so well, and I'm expecting one of these developers' games in your top 10 because I know you very well. But what these guys do so well is character building, storytelling, and suspense. Now they're almost like a walking simulator.
Yeah.
They have got a bit more interactive. Has
quick time.
Yeah, as things have gone on.
It's just stories. It's just another way for us to enjoy.
It's like an interactive film,
Yeah.
I would say. But they are awesome games, and I think they're so underrated. I don't think they get the love they deserve. Some of their higher end titles do, but I don't think they're as good as these smaller, lower budget titles. Anyway, so I'm going to tick both of those off. Men of Medan, House of Ashes for me.
Outlast.
Outlast.
The first one.
I've got that on my list.
I had Outlast 2.
I'm going to tick it off because we're going to both talk about it. Yeah.
So Outlast 2. I didn't get very far into it. It was one of those games where I kind of turned it off. I think I got
the third one as well, or was it the second one?
Trials. Outlast Trials.
Yes, I played Trials, and the second one's the one in the cornfield at the start.
I think I got to the cornfield, which
I
swear is like first or second level.
Yeah.
And I turned it off, and I was like, I'll come back to this a bit later on. And then I did go back to it again.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened. I was like, I think I'll come back to it. And I never went back. And I'm constantly told that I need to go back and play through it.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
I went a little bit further.
Yeah.
And maybe I got to I don't want to
maybe
ruin it for you.
It because
I can say because it's not going to really spoil anything.
Okay.
I got to a church.
Oh God.
Well, yeah, there's always a church in a horror game.
There's always a church.
I got to a church and I stopped as well. And I didn't pick up, and I liked it.
Yeah.
And it's one of those games that I really liked, and I don't know why I didn't replay it. And for a long time, that was The Witcher 3. And I know we've had this conversation as well.
You went back.
I went back. Oh my God, I'm glad I went back.
Yeah.
So maybe we should
Sometimes
both revisit
we need to
that
go
one.
back.
Yeah.
But yeah, Outlast 1 is on my list.
Yeah, it's an awesome game.
It was a game that I played at a friend's house on PC.
Yeah.
He was like, Tony, you've got to see this. You've got to see this game. And I'd not really seen anything like it at the time. It felt like leagues ahead of the stuff I was playing on console.
Yeah.
And I think I waited, and it came out on PS4, and that's when I played it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was, again, taking away kind of having weapons, which is such a big part of like...
Adds the fear.
You
can't defend yourself.
Yeah.
You're defenceless, you've got to run and hide.
Yeah.
And things can really... They'll kill you. They'll fuck you up straight
away.
Yeah.
You know, one hit and you're done pretty much. And
Yeah.
But I remember that feeling like things have progressed. This is similarly to when I played Condemned, and I was like, this feels like a leap from what I've known for games.
Yeah.
This felt like another huge kind of jump in horror. But
Yeah.
I love Outlast.
Yeah, Outlast was awesome. The first one was excellent. I finished the first one. I remember there was a boss that chased you around. I just remember being terrified by it. It was really hard. I was just hiding under a bed.
Around. I remember there was just like these creepy guys in chairs, like just shaking, and like you go near them and
It was a good game. It was a good game.
Yeah.
And good use of like making you use like the night vision through the camera.
Yeah.
To add to the atmosphere, and then that reduced your sort of field of view. Doing that, it was just a clever way of doing things to make you feel almost like suffocated in your surroundings. Get to this one. I know we spoke about it earlier, so we'll be pretty quick on this. Phasmophobia VR.
Yeah.
Because I haven't played it on the normal flat screen. I don't know how hard it hits, but VR, that game is terrifying and a must. Anyone that's got VR must play it.
I'll get it.
Get it with some friends. Give it a go, because that is definitely an awesome one.
My second Walking Dead game.
Okay.
Saints and Sinners.
The VR one.
The VR one on PSVR. The original on PS4.
Yeah.
Again, to me, it was a really great justification for when I got the VR. I don't know about you, but when you buy we tend to get our consoles when they first come out.
We do.
And often we're punished for that with like lack of
shit games for months.
In some cases, for some recent consoles for
7 years. Yeah.
But yeah, for me, this was I got this with it, and I remember playing it and going, this was like the best decision I ever made. I would have like the longest VR sessions. I think I was in for like 3 hours at some point.
There's a sequel, right?
Yeah.
Any good?
So the sequel's great. I got it on PSVR 2. For whatever reason, I've not played it much. I think I had
Is this an Outlast 2 scenario again, do you think?
No.
That it could be better, but...
No, it felt like DLC.
Right,
so
okay.
I'm sure it's a massive game. Everyone said it was its own thing.
So it doesn't add enough new for you to make it...
I went in, and where the first game had this really great mechanic of you're in a bus where you're like, that's your home base. And you're finding new weapons and you're slowly unlocking new things. I played this one, and because it's the sequel, at least at the start, I had everything. And I don't know, I just felt a little bit kind of lost. Like I was like, well, I've got everything. I kind of feel like the games, I mean, maybe they'll do the classic, again, a trope where you've got everything and then something happens and they take it all away and you have to do the thing again. I didn't get that far into it. I played a couple of short sittings. But the first one, for sure, was like, this is everything that I want from a zombie game.
Okay.
It was just class, yeah. Loved it.
Because I did 2 with House of Ashes and Man of Medan. You do another one.
Okay. I'm going to skip over one which I have suspicions is going to be your number 1, and I don't want to... I think maybe let's save it.
I haven't got it as these are in no particular order what I'm doing at the moment.
Okay. I'm still going to save that because I think we'll talk about that one probably longer than the others. Doom. So I mentioned
you did.
Doom is it horror? I think it is. I have great memories. It had to go on my list. I still go back to the original Doom. I think.
Do you like the new ones?
Yeah, I do. Just not the same.
Doesn't have the same hit.
They're brilliant. The music is great. The gameplay is visceral. It's such a. They're great, but there's just something about that first Doom, final Doom, Doom 2, like there's something about that id Software, like that whole era of gaming.
It's timing, what it did at the time.
It invented. And you know, I just really remember thinking like this is a genre or an industry that I want to kind of like play, view. Like forever. Like this is like, you know, like when you see your first great movie and you're like, I love movies. I'm now into movies. Movies is like part of me. That's how I felt when I played Doom. It was like, this is like defining for me. I love it. Like you hear great music and I love this band. Like, that was Doom.
Okay.
So yeah, Doom.
There are a couple of games that are like that for me as well on the list. Okay. So next one, let's go with Alien Isolation.
Yeah, great. Why is that not in VR? How have they?
I don't know if it is or not. No, I don't.
I'm sure you could probably play it on.
Yeah, I'm sure you can. I'm sure you can. Alien Isolation. This is the difficult one for me because I haven't finished the game, and there are a couple that I haven't finished on this list. But Alien Isolation, I've only played for a short amount of time, and it's one that I haven't gone back to. But I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah.
I probably played about 4 hours of it, so I've played enough to know that it's an awesome game. The atmosphere is great. You have that feeling of terror. That's that, you know, that similar situation again that you're kind of helpless.
Yep.
To a point. But yeah, that is an awesome game. I did like that.
Class.
Great lighting. It would work in VR very, very well. Not much more to say about it, but yeah.
Resident Evil. We've talked about Resident Evil. It's
on my list. I'm going to tick it off as well.
Great memories of getting Resident Evil from BTs.
BTs, yeah.
I remember BTs.
Yeah.
I think it was £30, and I saved my pocket money up. I went and bought it, and I remember the main TV in the living room where my parents were. We had family over. I want to say it might have even been around Christmas time.
Yeah.
I'm kind of reminiscing
was
about...
that, about 96?
I definitely
like
didn't get it when it first came out.
Oh,
it
okay,
might
a
have
little
been
bit
like
later.
a year after.
Yeah, okay.
And all I had was like a little 14-inch TV in the kitchen. There was like a kitchen TV. And I remember being in the kitchen. I remember it being really cold. And my mum and family were all in the living room. And I'm playing this game on PlayStation and thinking like, this is like nothing I've ever experienced before. And just being absolutely hooked. And it was also quite instrumental because I didn't own a memory card. at this time.
Oh no!
And I remember seeing the ink ribbons.
Yeah.
And going to the room for the ink ribbons, and I'm like, oh, I need a memory card. Like I haven't got them. I don't think
Was it one of those games that you had to leave your PlayStation on overnight to carry on playing? Do you remember those type of things? Yeah.
That's what I did.
Oh,
so
no.
no one had told me that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
But I was like, if I turn this off, I feel like I'd lose the game.
Yeah.
So like I had it on in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And I went out and I got a memory card. I kind of stressed to my parents, I need a memory card. I need a memory card.
I've got to get a 4 meg memory card or whatever it was at the time. Yeah.
But yeah, that game, I remember playing it. I remember getting to. I'm not going to spoil the part, but it was my.
I think you can spoil a game that's been out for 20
Can
odd
I?
years.
Can I spoil Resident Evil?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, when you find out in Resident Evil that it was all a dream and that it wasn't real, I'm joking. There was a bit with a boulder, and I tried it and I died a couple of times, and I ended up getting one of our mates to come round to help me finish that part of the level because I couldn't finish it.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah, it was. I loved it, and I loved all the sequels.
And it was very pivotal, that game.
Oh yeah.
That started. I can't think of anything. Oh no, you mentioned Doom.
So you had Alone in the Dark. That was kind of a.
Was that before?
Yeah,
it was before Resident Evil.
That was kind of a precursor to that genre, but again, night and day. Like very different. And also, Silent Hill, similar but different.
That was a lot further. That was a lot. I mean, not a lot after. That was a few years after, wasn't it?
Like that wasn't a Resident Evil clone to me. That was another.
See, I would say it is a Resident Evil clone.
I think so.
My personal opinion, yeah. Other people may think differently, but yeah.
Resident Evil.
Resident Evil. Okay. Well, I'm going to go. I'm cheating a little bit. I'm going to put 2 as 1 because at the time, Resident Evil 2, but now for me, Resident Evil 2 Remake has surpassed that.
Resident Evil 2 Remake was great.
Resident Evil 2 Remake was awesome.
Yeah.
We could talk about the remake. I mean, the second one was great at the time. I remember I bought mine in Germany. It was a German copy.
You played it through in German?
Played it through in German.
No way.
Yeah. Played it through in German, and I got it pretty shortly after release, and I was amazed. I was like, oh my God, there's like 2 discs on this one. And it was Claire and Leon, was it, in Resident Evil 2?
So our friend Mark, he actually had that game. He went in with another friend, a guy called Kevin.
Yeah.
And they both went in halves and took a disc each.
Oh, that's awesome.
Isn't it?
Like, why not? Yeah.
Why not? And then they, when they both finished it, they switched
it. Yeah.
I was like, that's
the best way to do it.
The greatest thing. Yeah.
So I got that, and I remember where I got it from as well. I got it from Toys R Us in Dusseldorf, in Germany.
Wow.
And you know when a game's good when you remember certain key points. I remember what room I played it in. My dad's house over there.
Yeah.
So that has a lot of fond memories, and it was just an awesome game. And it went a little bit more sort of action orientated, and they progressively I feel went that way.
Yeah.
With their games, and then started going more into horror again from 7.
If you look at the games that started to get popular on like Xbox 360 days, the Gears of Wars, the Halos, it's obvious that these developers are going to say, well, there's a lot of money over in that industry.
Yeah.
Action seems to be where people are putting their money. Let's move it over to there. And like, you kind of
look
like
at games of service now. Games as a service, yeah. As a service.
So like Resident Evil 4 started to kind of move it. Like that was probably like the transition because it felt like an old Resident Evil game, but it also felt more action based. You got guys. doing
I would almost not even call that a horror game. Resident Evil 4. I know it's got like it's not even
the chainsaw though. Does that not feel like?
I didn't find it scary at all. There were no jump scares. It wasn't really. There wasn't areas in it that were kind of psychologically scary.
Yeah.
It was a horror theme.
Yeah, but not a
hardcore
horror.
And people say it's the best Resident Evil. No chance.
Yeah, it's a great game. I've still not played. Again, it's on. They've done VR remakes.
Yeah, I do like it. Yeah. It's not a bad game, but it's a good action game, I would say. But that's it for me. So that's Resident Evil 2. I've done that. You got any more?
Yeah.
Go on then. Is it your last one?
No, I've still got 3.
I don't know how that's worked out. How I've got through all of
I think we
I
were
think
ticking
because
stuff off.
all right, okay. You go. You do a couple. Then
I'll do
go
a
from
couple. So Until Dawn,
there.
to me, was again another experience. So when that came out, I'm trying to think what year did that come out? You think?
Until Dawn.
It was 2010.
PS4 originally.
It was fairly early. Maybe it had been like the console had been out for a year.
Oh, I'm gonna say, God, it's got to be about 10 years ago.
10 years. Okay, so
Something like that.
I would been in my 30s.
Yeah.
The days of me gaming for longer than 2 or 3 hours at a time were long in the past, right?
Yeah.
This was a game that I'd seen kind of previews for. I'd been following it along, watching like YouTube like videos on it, and I was like, this is a bit of me. This is clearly, I mentioned Night Trap and a reference to a game that was like horror movies that they'd almost just taken.
This is the second of the 2 games I knew you would have on your list.
Okay, cool. And I took a day off work for it. And I don't know whether I was just trying to kind of recapture my childhood, but I was like, I'm going to play this until it ends.
Awesome.
And I'm going to play it in one sitting. I'm going to take a day off. I ordered it. I think I got it the day before from one of those retailers that was shipping games out early.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember those days.
I do.
Where they'd send a game a day or 2 before they came out. So I had it. I got up. I put it in the PlayStation 4. And I sat down and I played it. I took a break for lunch.
Yeah.
And toilet breaks. But I played, I think it was 12 hours, maybe 10 to 12 hours. And I played it through and it was nearly midnight by the time I'd finished.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I was like, this
is an awesome game.
This is
also
like,
super massive, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was their first one, I think.
First one, yeah.
And for me, it's still their best. I think they've constantly been trying. I know you really enjoy the others. But for me, I feel like they captured something truly special with that.
Yeah.
And my choices were my choices.
Will you ever play it again? I know there's a remake. No, and that's why I haven't bought it. Yeah,
and I've been very supportive. I've bought all of their games.
Yeah.
I play them until I'm bored. Like if I don't enjoy them, like there's been a couple of the spin-off ones I didn't finish.
Yeah.
The smaller ones that I didn't quite enjoy. I forget the name of the one that came out recently. There was one that was that was based on another IP. I forget. I've played all of them, and to me this is the best, the strongest, the most interesting. I cared the most about the characters. I was upset when characters died. I was genuinely scared.
I did enjoy it. It's one that narrowly missed my list. This one, but it's a good one.
So that's absolute class. Resident Evil 7 VR. I've mentioned it as well. Probably my favourite experience. Maybe not favourite game, but favourite gaming experience. And I am super excited for if they're going to re-release it on PSVR 2. I will replay that for sure.
Last one.
I've got one more as
We've
well.
got one more each.
Yeah.
Should we say them both at the same time in like 3 seconds? Yeah.
Okay. On 3.
On 3.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Last
Alan Wake.
of Us. Oh. Okay.
Oh, do you know what? I didn't even think of The Last of Us. Yeah, again, is it a horror game?
Let's talk Alan Wake.
All right.
I've got a lot to say about Last.
See, Alan Wake was a bit of a funny one for me as well because I thought, is it a horror game?
Oh, Alan
Is
Wake.
it?
Alan Wake is on my list.
It is on your list. Okay, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Alan Wake, awesome game. I've probably completed it about 5 or 6 times. I loved it. It was really good. I prefer it to the second one. Might be controversial. I know the second one was better received, and I played it maybe 6 hours. The second one, I just found it a difficult game to get into. I don't know. It just didn't have the same charm.
Again,
The first one was just awesome. Played better.
It felt like it was in that same kind of genre of survival horror.
Yeah.
But similarly to how Silent Hill feels so different to Resident Evil, this felt so different to those.
Yeah.
It felt like a massive leap in visuals. It was a beautiful game.
Yeah.
I loved all of the references to things like Twin Peaks and like the you're a writer, so you're like the everyman, which is always really good.
Do you remember their marketing for that, Remedies and Microsoft's, at the time when it first came out? Right. Where they started releasing those videos to go, like those films, those short films to coincide with the...
Were those the videos that played on the TV screens in the game?
There was some of them, yeah.
Great.
They,
I
they
mean,
released
it's
released them on Xbox Live at the time. I remember having watching those as they were like leading up to it, and just giving you snippets of information, and then after each segment there were chapters, weren't there? And after each chapter you had the video as well. Awesome, great soundtrack, great use of lighting. At the time it was groundbreaking, the lighting in it.
Yeah.
Really, really good. Just a cool game, start to finish.
It's brilliant.
That's it. Is that our 10 done?
And then Last of Us.
Okay, yeah.
So if I'm only going to put one in, I'm going to put Last of Us 1 in, because I think it's a superior story.
Better game, yeah.
I really enjoyed the second one.
I did.
I'm not going to give any spoilers, because I think that game's still new enough, and they probably need like a 5th or 6th remake of it to milk that one. But I love it. I love that world. I love that story. I think Naughty Dog maybe make the best stories in games. And to me, the relationship between Joel and Ellie, I think Joel is my favourite game character of all time. And he's a character that, I think as a dad, I wasn't a dad when I played it first. I'm a dad now, and it hits harder now, I think, when I see what happens at the start of the game, and his relationships, and like why he did what he did, and why he does what he does. I really hope they make a third.
I think they will.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Game Awards, they announced a remake of 2, a remaster.
On PC. Is
it on PC?
Yeah, I think it was just God help them if it's a remake, because they've
only just done one, haven't they? Yeah. It's coming out the PC. Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me.
And then they've got their new IP coming out as well.
Which I think
looks good.
I think it's a. Was it scary? Probably not. There were a few moments in there that were a bit but
was it one of the best stories in gaming?
I think
it's
so.
up there.
Yeah,
it's really good. Good gameplay, enjoyable, good ride. Yeah, loved it.
I think that's it. That's my top 10.
Okay, so the next and final segment is agreeing our sort of top 5.
Okay.
I
think we could both comfortably say Alan Wake is on the list.
Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that, because I need a piss. I'll have to shut it in because I've absolutely been dying.
A few moments later.
He's been drinking beer. Right, okay. So that's it for our top 10
favourites.
Top 10 favourites in no particular order. So now we need to talk about agreeing a top 5. And I'm going to get my pen out, because this is going to require some work. So you wanted to add one straight away.
Yeah. So I think Alan Wake is on the list. I think if I asked you for your number 1, would you say Alan Wake was your number 1?
No.
Oh, that's different to what I thought. Okay.
So
argue to me Alan Wake not being on the list then.
I think Alan Wake makes the list.
Okay.
But I don't know where Alan Wake is on the list until we hear what the other one. So we've got Alan Wake.
We know it's there.
Do you agree with Alan Wake?
Yes, I do agree.
You do?
I think so. I know we said we weren't going to put them in a list, and I did mix them up after you said the thing that we're not doing it in any particular order. Right. But I had Alan Wake at 5 on my list. So
right. Okay.
I did move them around to try, because I wanted to kind of lead up to where I think the number 1 would be.
Okay.
Which for me would have been Resident Evil 7, but you don't have the same experience with Resident Evil 7 as I do.
And this is a list that we both have to agree on.
We have to agree on, yeah.
It's going to be difficult.
So right. I would have thought. So okay, what would have been your number 1?
Number 1?
Yeah.
Oh, we'll get to that.
No, but I feel like if we're starting this, I feel like it needs to, like, let's get the low-hanging fruit. Let's get the
easy ones.
Let's get the easy ones before we start
arguing
over whether Condemned should be on the list.
It's very difficult, because I'm torn.
Yeah.
I'm torn here.
Let me see on mine.
I'm torn between 2 Resident Evils.
Okay.
Resident Evil 1.
Okay.
And Resident Evil 1, not looking back at it retrospectively, because it's not the best game nowadays, but the impact that it had on me and
personal,
the genre as a whole in its time.
Do you think Resident Evil 2 had more of an impact than Resident Evil 1?
I think Resident Evil 2 Remake is my favourite horror game of all time.
Wow. Okay.
That I would give that my number one spot.
Okay.
And it might be quite controversial, but I do. The difficulty with both of those is, I want them both on the list, so we'll see what you've got. But
Okay.
I'm gonna fight. If I were to pick one, I'd love to have one there because of what it meant for gaming, but I'd like to have two there because I think that's just it's an absolute masterpiece for me.
There could be 2 Resident Evil games on the list. I had 2 Walking Deads on my list.
We'll see. So what have you got? I mean, we're agreeing on one so far. And
We're saying Alan Wake's on the list.
Alan Wake. Let's put that at number 5 because I think there are better games, and it's more. To me, that was a bit of a funny one. Is it horror? It is.
Was Resident Evil 1 on both our lists? It was, right?
Was it on both our top 5s?
It's on mine.
I
had it at number 3.
Right.
Okay.
So it's on the list, but Resident Evil 2 is not on your list.
Resident Evil 2 is not on my list.
Okay.
And I'm going to be honest with you. Maybe there was a part of me that was like, I've already got 2 Resident Evils on my list. Do I add a third?
Yeah. Okay.
I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
My experience of the original on PlayStation was stronger.
Okay.
And I think seeing one of my games I loved growing up in amazing, remake territory on the PlayStation 4, was it? Was it a 4 or was it a 5?
God, I don't know now.
I can't remember. I mean, I'm not gonna hate on it being on the list.
No, that's fine. We'll see what the rest of them are. Go on then. So we've agreed on 1. We've agreed on 2, but we don't know where Resident Evil 1's going to be on the list.
Yeah.
This is obviously not planned.
Yeah,
it's hard.
It's hard. I mean, already I'm like, well, The Last of Us has to be on the list. Like, but like straight away, you've got 3 games that are third-person horror.
Doesn't matter.
Shooters.
Doesn't matter. They can be all the same.
The Last of Us deserves to be on the list?
The Last of Us is an amazing game, and it's one that I forgot about, to be honest.
Yeah.
But why did I forget about it? That's what I'm asking myself. And
because Naughty Dog haven't released a proper game in decades.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah. Forgotten. I'm going to put Last of Us down. Okay. I think it deserves it. It's a world-class game. It is a horror game.
See, we're going to get absolutely dragged for this list because
there are 100%,
so many,
yeah.
There are so many games on PC in particular that are like horror, like gold.
Yeah, 100%.
That I've never played.
And it'd be good for everyone to let us know what we should be playing.
Tell us why we're idiots.
Yeah, tell us why we're stupid. All right. We're not giving positions for those yet until we've got the 5. Yeah. Okay. So what?
So Resident Evil.
All right. So we've got 3. We've got 3 that we all agree on.
Resident Evil 7 on the list, and the reason I'm not going to put it, even though it's my number 1.
Okay.
But maybe it should be. I don't know, because I was about to say, look, it's my experience. It was my. But I think it's a great game, and it was terrifying playing that in VR.
So I struggled playing Resident Evil 7. It was one of those ones that I had to go back to a couple of times.
Did you play it on flat screen?
I played it flat screen.
I hear that from people, and I wonder whether that's the...
And I liked 8, and then finished that and went back and did 7.
Village, right?
Village, yeah.
That was good.
I liked that one, and then I went back and I kind of liked 7, but it was still a difficult pill to swallow for me. I know, it's difficult, and it is difficult. So we either do it this way, we either chuck one each on, which is vetoed, so you can have yours and I can have mine.
Yeah.
And then that's that, and then we have to decide where they fit in the hierarchy.
Oh God, I mean Until Dawn, I think should be on the list. I think but you've put others on there. You don't think it's as good?
I don't.
This is going to be really tough.
It's going to be
man.
tough. Yeah, I don't think Until Dawn.
Did either of us have
hits the list.
Silent Hill?
No, I didn't even have Silent Hill in my top 10.
Man, they're going to drag us.
They're going to drag us through the bushes for this. I know.
Jeez.
We're going to be lynched.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be the new
The
horror.
horror game.
That'll be the horror. The
is
internet chasing
the
us
internet
for what we
chasing
said.
You and me
Yeah.
for our preference.
Right, I think to wrap it up, we just go cold and hard.
Yeah.
With a game each. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
We're vetoing each other's thing.
So we say it and then you say yes or no?
No, you just say it and that's yours, your decision. It's one, it goes on the list. We're not going to put these in order because we'll be there forever.
Okay.
We might agree on one. We'll try and agree on one.
Okay.
Rather than a top 5.
Okay.
So the one I want to put on is the one that I put as top 1, Resident Evil 2 remake.
Okay.
Because in recent years it is the best horror experience I've had.
Yeah.
Not the scariest, that's Phasmophobia, but the best overall story and horror experience, best graphics, presentation, a bit of nostalgia.
I really want to put Resident Evil 7.
You can do
It's
whatever you
gonna
want.
be the best 5 Resident Evil games.
That's why
Oh,
they keep making them.
This
Right,
is-
so that's mine. You put 7 then, yeah?
No. I haven't
No, you
said
have
it yet.
to.
Give me a second. Give me a second.
I'll have a little sip of
okay. I'm looking at my
beer.
list. Yeah, have a sip. Okay. Walking Dead. My Telltale Walking Dead. No.
Yeah.
I can't put Pinball M in because that'd just be mental. Even
Yeah.
though it is brilliant, and
I want to check. I will check it
I
out.
would love for you to play it. In fact, after this, I think it's like
We'll
it's
put
like
it on
5
after this.
£5.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
I'm gonna say I think Resident Evil 7 is better than Saints and Sinners.
Yeah.
For me. I think. Did we say yes to Last of Us?
We've got Last of Us on there.
Last of Us Part 1. Okay.
I
Cool.
put that on there.
Yeah.
And it's not
I'm
that I'm being a sycophant and agreeing with you.
I'm gonna
I
put-
probably would have put it on my list if I just remembered at the time
Listen,
when I was jotting it down last
Listen,
night.
we're going Until Dawn. We're putting Until Dawn.
Until
on there
Dawn?
because
Okay.
I can't have 3 Resident Evil games on this list.
Do you know what? I say yeah, it's a good one. I love Supermassive Games. I love what they do. It's not my best of their games personally,
Fair enough.
but it's up there.
Okay.
And they deserve to be on
So
there. They deserve the recognition.
So that's the 5.
So that's the 5.
Do we list? Do we?
No, we just go for a number 1. Agreed, number 1.
Read number 1. Can I see the list?
Yeah. So we've got Alan Wake, Resident Evil, Last of Us, Resident Evil 2 remake, Until Dawn.
Okay. On 3, we're going to say which one we think is number 1.
Yeah.
You ready? On 3.
On 3.
Okay. 1,
One,
2,
two,
3.
Resident Evil. Yeah.
Hey,
I like
we did it.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
We did it. Fantastic.
Okay.
So Resident Evil is the greatest horror game ever made.
I
You
think
heard
so.
it here first, guys.
You heard it here first, yeah.
We nearly ended up with top 5 Resident Evil games, framed as a.
But what? Why is it? Just because it was pivotal at the time.
Yeah.
It formatted the genre for so many games.
Yeah.
Dead Space, Silent Hill, Thing.
Could we
Cold
agree
Fear.
we loved horror movies before we loved horror games?
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's fair to say that genre
Yeah.
has influenced this genre, that list.
100%.
I'm sure. I've se- I,
Well, it is. I'll tell you why. My favourite horror film of all time, Evil Dead 2.
yeah.
That's my favourite horror film of all time.
Yeah.
Zom-
And the people making these games are going to have been hugely influenced by
course.
Resident Evil. I mean, you watch that intro, the cheesy kind of B movie. It is, Capcom. I don't forget who developed it, but who made it. They were probably raised on horror movies, and they were trying to recreate that kind of American schlocky horror.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that our list is very. Is very kind of
I would love a proper remake.
of Resident Evil 1.
Of Resident Evil 1.
The GameCube one is brilliant. Like I remember like that being like one of the early remakes.
It
for
was,
me,
yeah.
Where I was like, that makes sense. It looks and plays.
But it's about time. It's been a long time. That's been 20 years now.
if you stick it in
20
VR, mate, it would be unreal.
Yeah.
I'd love to play the current the PlayStation version in
Yeah.
VR. I'd love to play Doom in VR. Like, just don't
Anything in
don't
VR.
do anything.
Anything in
Which
VR.
is probably why I need a PC, because all of
You
these
do.
things exist.
We'll talk about that in a bit, actually.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the format today. It was a little bit different. Tony may be back. It depends whether
Depends
he
how
enjoyed
good,
it.
you know,
Yeah, it depends
how
whether
good it
this does
does.
well or not. But yeah, let us know what your top 10 games are, whether there's anything we've missed, whether our top 5 is absolute trash or not, because I'm sure it is. But yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Say bye. Bye.